I worship you. Yes, I worship you. You are here. You're working in this place. I worship you. Yes, I worship you. For you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Yes, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here. You're touching every heart. I worship you. Yes, I worship you. You are here. You're healing every heart. And I worship you. Yes, I worship you. You are here. You're turning lives around. I worship you. Yes, I worship you. And you are here. You're mending every heart. I worship you. Yes, I worship you. Yes, 'cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, yeah. You're waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, yes you are. You're waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. We believe it. We believe it. You're waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. That's who we are. And that is who you are. Oh yeah. And that is who you are. And that is who you are. Oh yeah. That is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. And that is who you are. That is who you are. Oh yeah. Oh, it's still who you are, even when I don't see it. And even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. Never stop. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, has overcome, we believe. We sing hallelujah, and we sing hallelujah. We sing hallelujah. The Lamb has overcome, and we sing hallelujah, and we sing hallelujah, and we sing hallelujah. The Lamb has overcome. Oh, we sing hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah. And we sing hallelujah. The Lamb has overcome. Oh, we sing hallelujah. And we sing hallelujah. And we sing hallelujah. The Lamb has overcome. Oh, we sing hallelujah. And we sing hallelujah. And we sing hallelujah. The Lamb has overcome. Forever He is glorified. Forever He is lifted high. Forever He is risen. He is alive. Oh, He is
What's up? Hey, listen, I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, okay? I think we're getting through this COVID-19 stuff, and hopefully soon we will be all together. But since we're not, we're going to continue this series called The You Effect. Leighton did a killer job last week. We're going to continue that this week. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard the phrase cause and effect? Sure you have. Sure you've heard it. It's when something happens as a result of something else, right? So for instance, mom walks in, she's in a good mood. Because she's in a good mood, what are you going to do? You're going to ask her for what you want. You're going, hey, this is a good time to ask her about the concert that I want to go to. Or about going out with my friends here in a little bit. For some of you, it was this. Your teacher assigned homework on Friday, and because she assigned the homework on Friday and she said it was due on Monday, your whole weekend is now gone because of that. Ladies, you know this one. You didn't dress up that morning, and so you head to school and you're not put together. You don't have your makeup on. You're not looking sharp, and so you know that because of that, you're not going to flirt with the boy that's in your chemistry class, right? All the athletes in the room, you can relate to this one. You had a bad game on Friday night, and you know because you had a bad game on Friday night that coach is really going to come down on you Monday to start out the week to make up for those bad in-game decisions, right? See, we all get it. We understand this concept of cause and effect. Now, here's what happens, and I'm guilty of this. You know, you get to see the real Chad on midweeks. See, I'm guilty of going, man, if the effect, if the end result is good, I love going, look what I did. Look what I did to make this happen. Look what I did to cause this good thing to happen. Now, on the flip side of it, I don't usually go, well, it ended poorly. It didn't end the way I wanted to. Well, that's on me. I typically go, well, that's because of them. It was their fault that it ended this way. Or you blame anything. You blame your cat. See, here's the thing you need to understand is we all make mistakes. We all make decisions that lead us down. We head down a path that we know we're not supposed to go down. And the effect of that, the effect of our mistakes or the effect of our missteps is that we lose our influence. And for some of you, we lose this influence in one big event that happens. Maybe it was on a weekend. You decide to go to the party and Because you were at the party, people started talking at school about how you were at this party, or maybe you got caught with some things that you knew you shouldn't have had, and people started talking, or you sent some pictures that you know you shouldn't have sent, but you did it anyway, and now you've got this reputation. You got people talking, and you've lost some influence. The people that once used to listen to you because of your influence are now turning down the volume on you. They're muting you. The adults in your life that once looked at you with respect are now disappointed. In fact, that group of friends that used to want to hang out with you, all of a sudden they're too busy or they're all sick and can't hang out with you any longer. Sometimes it's not one big event that takes place. Sometimes it's a set of events that take place over a course of time that are maybe small. You know this too well, that how you treat people also increases or decreases the influence that you have in that person's life. Man, I talk with students all the time, and they're like, I just don't understand why my friends don't want to hang out with me. I'm like, dude, you're a jerk to them. You're mean. You're not very nice. And it's because of that they don't want to hang out with you. You've lost any kind of influence because of the way you talk to them. You're sarcastic all the time. You're just mean. Of course, they don't want to hang out with you. And you begin to lose that influence. And I'm going to tell you, it happens to us all. We take a step back and we kind of go, wow, I've lost some relationships. I guess the story's over. And I see this all too well with students. Because you feel like your story's over, because people have talked about you and maybe you've got a new picture of what people have drawn of you because of some decisions that you've made. You start going, well, I'm not going to go to Midweek this week because people know what I've done. Or I'm not going to talk in small group, or I'm just not going to hang out with those good friends because they've seen my mistakes and I've lost that influence, and now I'm just going to back up. And what happens is it begins as like 1 week. I'm not going to go to Midweek this week. Well, then it turns into 2 weeks. And then it turns into 2 months. And then next thing you know, it's a semester has gone by, and you go, well, you know what? This is just the new me. This is who I am. I don't have the influence. And so I'm just going to continue to be okay with where I'm at and know that I can't have any influence. If that's you, I want you to know that you're not the first to ever feel this way. In fact, the Bible is full of people who had influence, they lost it, and they were sure that their story was over. We're going to look for just a little bit at this woman that Jesus encounters. Now, back in her day and time, women weren't valued at all. In fact, they were kind of looked at as a piece of property, had zero value. In fact, so whatever influence she had was now lost because of some choices that she made in her life. And here we are at this dinner with Jesus. And I want you to see what Luke records in Luke 7, verse 36. It says, when one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and he reclined at the table. Let me give you some background for just a second. The Pharisees were Jewish leaders who were dedicated to studying the Jewish law. In fact, it was because they studied the Jewish law, it oftentimes made them feel like they had this positive influence on the people around them. But the truth was, oftentimes they became arrogant and they would look at the people around them and kind of make them feel pretty crummy about who they were. And that's exactly what happens in this story. It says this in verses 37 and 38. It says, a woman in that town who lived a sinful life learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house. So she came there with an alabaster jar full of perfume. As she stood behind him at his feet weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. Now, if you're watching, you're reading along with me, you got to know, and if you've been around me very long, I cannot stand people's feet. I can't stand them. I can't stand being around them. I don't want people to put their feet next to me if I'm on the couch, even including my wife. Now, my baby's feet, that's one thing. Now, if they get to kindergarten, I'm like, okay, you got to get your feet away from me. They're gross. And so if you're reading this, you're probably going, man, this is pretty weird. This woman walks in and begins to wash Jesus' feet. What's up with that? was kind of commonplace back then, because imagine these guys are wearing sandals. They're walking around the dust and the dirt all day. And at the end of the day, they would go into someone's house, and the lowest of low servants would come in and wash the people's feet. See, this was different. See, this woman, she didn't just wash his feet with water. It says, no, it was perfume. See, this was more than just about cleaning feet. It was an act of worship. And you had to know the Pharisees that were in the room had something to say about it. Verse 39, it says, when the Pharisees who had invited him saw this, they said to themselves, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. See, the Pharisees had Jesus all wrong. They had him all wrong. They thought for sure if he understood who this woman was, he would cast her away and say, get away from me, woman. But they didn't understand that it was people like this woman that were drawn to Jesus. And not only that, Jesus himself was drawn to those people that were broken, who didn't have the influence. See, the woman knew that she had a bad reputation and had no influence in this group. And I think that's what drove her straight to his feet. It was her appreciation for Jesus that fueled her inadequacy. She didn't hide from Jesus because she didn't measure up. Instead, she got close to him because of who he was. The story continues on in verses 41 through 48. It says this, then he turned toward the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman, from the time that I entered, has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore, I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whosoever has been forgiven little loves little. Then Jesus said to her, your sins are forgiven. See, I think Simon looked at this woman in a certain way, but he didn't understand the way that Jesus looked at her. See, I think Jesus saw something completely different. He looked at her and saw potential, and he saw purpose in this woman's life. See, up until this point, the cause and effect of this woman's life were this. The cause was that she was a sinner, and the effect was people looked down on her because of her negative influence on them. But when Jesus came in, his cause and effect and his response to her was different. See, his cause was, I love you. And the effect is Jesus forgave her and gave her a new start. See, no matter what you've done or how bad you feel like you are, or maybe how bad you think people think of you, the truth is today that Jesus is absolutely crazy about you. He loves you, and he wants you to come back to him. You don't have to get it all together. You don't have to do so many good things in order to make up for the bad things. You can go to him. What's incredible about this encounter is that this woman before Jesus had zero influence, right? But after her encounter, we're talking about her story today, thousands of years later. Talk about an influence. See, she thought she had lost her influence. She thought she had lost her reputation. She thought she had lost her standing, but they weren't lost forever. Jesus redeemed her story, and he can do the same in your story today. See, it's because of Jesus we can change the effect that we have on others. Our mistakes don't have to erase the potential positive influence that we can have on the people around us. Maybe you're watching today and you go, Chad, I understand. Man, I've made some mistakes and people have looked down on me, and I've felt for time and time and time again that there is no way Jesus could ever want to use me. Maybe you're watching today and you're like, Chad, I get it. Jesus forgives me, but do you understand that there's people in my life that are talking about the mistakes that I've made? What do I do about that? What do I do about that? Well, there's three things that I think we can do to take some steps in the right direction today. And the first thing is this, that we need to reflect. We've got to ask ourselves, what are the decisions that I'm making today that I need to stop making because they're taking me down the wrong path? Is it getting rid of some friends in your life that maybe are pushing you down the wrong path, or maybe stop going to the party or stop sending the pics? Whatever it is, it's reflecting on where you were and where you want to be, and stop making some choices that you're making. The second is this: confess. Just like the story of this woman, she didn't run because of her mistake. She didn't walk in the door and go, "Oh, great, Jesus is here. I better run. I don't need to be around him. I made mistakes, and I don't want him to know about my mistakes." No, she went to him. She was drawn to him. She got down on her knees to wash his feet because of who he was. And today, that's exactly what we need to do. If you've made some mistakes, if you've pulled away from him, today I invite you to go to him, to draw near to him today. For some of you, it also might mean that you need to have a conversation with an adult leader in your life, whether that's one of us here on staff or maybe your small group leader, to invite them in on what's going on in your life, to hold you accountable to taking those steps in your life. And then finally, identify a specific step. Maybe it's, I need to apologize to somebody. Maybe you got to change the way you talk to people, right? Or maybe it's what I just said a couple minutes ago, just having somebody to check in on you, to hold you accountable, to walk with you as you change the direction of your path. Which person are you today? Have you completely shut yourself out for the past year or two or maybe weeks? You said, God can't use me. People know who I am, and because of that, I'm just going to back off. If that's you, man, this whole Corona thing has got you pretty pumped. Like, you can still go to church and no one has to see you, right? You can watch from home and feel good about knowing that you don't have to know people are watching you grow closer to God. But let me tell you today, I'm going to encourage you to take these steps to draw closer to him during this time. Don't pull away. What an incredible opportunity we have to draw near to him, even with our mistakes and our bad decisions. He's calling us to lean in to him today. Guys, I love you. I miss y'all. I want to pray for you, and then I've got a couple announcements, and we'll be done. God, we love you, and I thank you that you're a God that isn't afraid of our mistakes and our failures, but you're a God that draws into us. And God, I pray that our response would be to lean into you, to see your love, and allow that to change us, to allow that to change who we are, that we can see that we can have an influence in the lives of so many people, even when we have screwed up. God, you're calling us to you. And so we thank you for that, and we love you, and we trust you. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen. This weekend is our big celebration. We want to invite you to be a part of it this Sunday night. 7:30 is when we're planning on getting together, or be looking for that time online. That might change a little bit, but we are excited about it. Come celebrate with us. It's going to be an incredible worship service. We're going to have David speaking. And then also at the end of the night, Texas style, we're blowing some stuff up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some great fireworks, so be a part of what's taking place this Sunday night. Hey, I miss you guys. We'll see you later.